Round 18 of the 2025 AFL season is officially wrapped up. We're going to go through all 9 matches from the weekend, give you the best players, the best teams, everything you need to know from the weekend of football. We'll wrap it up with our Brownlow and MVP leaderboards and a look at how our tipping went this weekend. Welcome on into the All Aussie Rules Football Podcast. We've got another episode coming your way today, and it is our Round 18 review for season 2025. This is episode number 48 of the podcast for the year. It goes live twice a week on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. So make sure you hit that follow button or the subscribe button, depending what platform you're on, so you don't miss any episodes. We do 2 a week, so we do the review episode that goes live every Monday. That is this one. And we have the preview episode that goes live every Thursday, previewing the next weekend's football matches. So, without any further ado, we're going to jump into all the action from this weekend. There was 9 games across the space of the weekend. We'll start on Thursday night. We'll work our way through them all. We'll wrap up this episode with our tips, how they went for the weekend, our Brownlow medal update, based on all of our votes for the season so far, and our MVP update as well. So that's everything that's coming up in this episode. Don't forget to like, leave a comment, all of those things as well. Let's jump into it. We've got 9 games to get through, so let's not waste too much time. Here it is, Thursday night football. It was Carlton, it was Brisbane, and it was at Marvel Stadium. And this one, it was over, I won't say super early, but it certainly was over pretty comfortably. Brisbane, won the first 3 quarters to lead by 52 points at 3-quarter time and have a pretty comfortable lead at that point. They won the first quarter by 13 points. They won the second quarter by even more. Third quarter was another good one for them. And then the fourth quarter, Carlton did end up winning it, kicking 3 goals, 2-0, 5 that the Brisbane Lions kicked in that final quarter. So they did bring it back a little bit to only lose by 37 points, but it was pretty commanding in most ways, this game. If you're not watching the video, if you're just listening, we do have on the screen right now some votes, Brownlow votes, MVP votes, and team ratings. We'll start with team rating. Brisbane a 47-1-2, which is pretty good, especially on the road for them. A 39-2-3 for Carlton is a quite horrible. Anything under 40 is a bad performance, pretty much. It's a rating system that we do. It's how it comes up, based on stats and everything else. What else to say about this game team-wise? We'll have a look at the stats. Brisbane dominated inside 50s, in all honesty, in this one. It was 61-45 in favour of the Lions. They had the ball in their forward half a lot, 58%. Carlton were good in clearances and they were good in contested football, which hasn't always been the case over recent weeks. It is something that historically they have been very good at. And once again, it proves that that doesn't matter all that much. 32 shots to 22, so Brisbane dominated that area of the game. 15 goals to 9 for the match. Everything kind of went the way of the Lions here. Scoring-wise, interesting to note here, it was won in the turnover game for Brisbane. 75 out of their 103 points in this game were scored from turnover. So they won the turnover game 75-25 in terms of scoring. However, if you're just looking at interceptions, they only had +2 on Carlton. So they turned 65 interceptions into 75 points. Really good conversion rate. Whereas Carlton were absolutely horrible at turning interceptions into scores. They created 63 interceptions, only managed 25 points for the game. So 3 goals, 7. Could have been a little better if they kicked straight, but still that's a very low output from 63 interceptions. Scoring from forward half, as we said, Brisbane had the ball in their forward half for 58% of this game time. They scored 71 out of their total points from that forward line. So they outscored Carlton's whole game from the forward half. 71-41 in forward half scoring. Pretty much a complete performance from Brisbane. They did everything they wanted and needed to in this game, I think. They had a few different players step up than their normal ones that have been dominant this year, so that was another good sign for them. If we're just looking at stats, Charlie Cameron had 6 shots at goal. He only managed to convert 3 of them, but still pretty solid. Outside of him, Zach Bailey could have had a great game, instead didn't. He had 7 shots at goal for 1 goal 4. That's happened to him a couple of times this year now. Other than that, I don't know what else to say about the team-wise of it. We'll jump into the player-by-player analysis. Brownlow votes were gone. Josh Dunkley, 3. I think he was the best player on the ground in this one. 28 touches. He was really good. 14 contested possessions. 5 inside 50s, 7 intercepts. Just really good performance from him. Probably his best game of the year. So I've given him 3 Brownlow votes. Lockie New I've given 2. He had plenty of the football, 31 touches. He was really good. And Will Ashcroft also had plenty of the football. There's a lot of other players that could get votes here. Darcy Wilmot probably also played his best game of the season, so he could potentially get votes. He had 31 touches. He was very important. Sometimes the umpires don't see those sort of players, but he was really good. Rayner was good. Berry was good. A lot of Brisbane players were. For Carlton, I don't see anyone being good enough to get votes. George Hewitt did have 33 touches, so you just never know. 33 touches and a goal may have been enough to get him a vote or two, depending on what the umpires saw. So that's how I've gone for my Brownlow votes in this one. MVP votes, if you're new around here, we do votes for the top 5 players for both teams based on our All Aussie Rules rating system. So that rates every player in every position for every single game. And then the top 5 for each team get votes. The winning team get 10, 8, 6, 4, and 2 for the top 5, whereas the losing team get half of that, so 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Starting on the winning side, Josh Dunkley, I think he was best on ground. He gets 10. He also got the medal for best on ground, the Robert Walls medal, I think they called it. Darcy Wilmot got 8. As I said, he had plenty of the football. He was good. Jared Berry, he was good. Kicked a goal, had 23 touches. He gets 6. Lockie Neal gets 4, and Cam Rayner, for his 22 touches, 2 goals, gets the 2. On the Carlton side, George Hewitt continued his great season. He's clearly been Carlton's best player this year, by far. Another good performance from him. He gets the 5. Mark Pittenay, playing as the lead ruckman, ahead of De Koning, who is playing as a forward, was good. Roosted one from 60 after the siren of the first quarter. So he had a good game, kicked 2 goals. He was quite handy in the ruck contest. Paddy Cripps gets the 3. Started really well. Didn't maybe finish the game off as good. 26 touches. Had 4 shots at goal for 1 goal 2. Could have been a really good game. Nick Haynes too. He's been pretty good over recent weeks. And Zach Williams, after his best Carlton player the week before against Collingwood, played really well again. So he's put together some good form. He wasn't as good this week, obviously. He was only their 5th best player, but another solid game from him in this one. I don't think there's too much else to say about this game. Brisbane, that really sets them up, puts them second on the... Well, they were already second on the ladder. Stays second on the ladder, but gain a win on top spot, which we'll get to very shortly. So their season's going really well. Carlton, their season's done. It has been done for a fair while now. It's just a matter of how bad it gets. And at the moment, it's not looking great. Back to back bad losses. I know last week was Collingwood, this week Brisbane. So they're playing top teams at the moment. But ever since that North Melbourne loss, it's been a pretty big free fall for Carlton. So a rough little period that they've had. Hopefully, for their sake, they can find some form soon. Charlie Curnow's one that I think he's kicked 0-9 in the last 3 weeks or something. He's not playing terrible. He's getting a bit of the football. He was pretty solid against Collingwood at getting the football. It was just an inability to kick goals at the moment, which from your key forward is not what you want. Moving on to Friday football. This was Collingwood Gold Coast, up on the Gold Coast. The biggest game for the Suns in their history, potentially, so far. But, I mean, they quite possibly are going to have some big ones this season coming up still. They get the win 10-9, 69 to Collingwood, 8-15, 63. Win by 6 points. Massive win for the Suns. It doesn't guarantee them finals, but it certainly has them in a really good spot. With the fact that they've got an extra game than everyone else to come, they are going to be hard to knock out of finals right now, and potentially this gives them a genuine chance at top 4. So really good from them. We look at this game, it was one of the weirdest games of football you'll ever see. It was 2 goals 5-0 4 at quarter time in favour of the Suns. By half time, Collingwood still hadn't kicked a goal. It was 43-8. Yes, you heard that right. 0 goals 8 for Collingwood. I think they then kicked the first couple behinds of the next quarter as well, and things were going poorly. There's no doubt about it. But eventually, halfway through the third quarter, Collingwood finally decided to kick a goal after Gold Coast had kicked the first 7 of the match. And even at three-quarter time, it was still 28 points. Collingwood had brought it back a little bit, but it was still 28-point margin, and Collingwood were only on 29 for the match. So it looked pretty much over, but a Josh Dacos absolute masterclass early in that final quarter nearly turned this game on its head. He played arguably one of the greatest quarters of football we've seen. Certainly the best quarter of football we've seen this year, I think. I don't think there's too many arguments there. It was absolutely sensational. 16 touches, 2 goals, 4 clearances, a lot of contested football. Just stepped up when they needed to. And somehow, with about 10 minutes to go in this game, Collingwood hit the front out of nowhere. But then Gold Coast did what they did to Collingwood last year, absolutely stepped up when they needed to. Ben Long kicked one to put them back in front, and then Noah Anderson kicked one to give them just over a goal lead with about 8 minutes to go. And then Collingwood had their chances to get back and win this one. Josh Dacos kicked it behind. There was a rush behind. Ned Long also kicked it behind. That could have put them within a kick. In the end, it got them within 6 points. But Gold Coast held on. All credit to them. Really good performance from them. It was a cracking game. It didn't look like it was going to be a cracking game early on, especially when Collingwood couldn't kick straight. But they'll be ruling their missed chances. But you don't take anything away from Gold Coast in this one. They did what they needed to, and they were really good. A look at the team stats, as you can tell, team ratings 43.55 for Gold Coast, so not their most outstanding performance. And that's mainly because in that second half, they were absolutely shut down. Collingwood dominated inside 50s after half-time, dominated territory, dominated ball use, certainly after half-time. And that lowered Gold Coast rating because they were on track for a much bigger number. Collingwood, on the other hand, were on track for a well under 40 game at half-time. Turned it on in the second half, ended up 42-37. So a little bit lower than Gold Coast overall, but when we look at some of these stats across the game, it makes you wonder how Collingwood lost. But, I mean, we know how they lost because they kicked 0-8 in the first half. Collingwood end up plus 10 inside 50s, which is very strange for them. They're not. There's been a lot of games this year where they lose the inside 50 count but win the game comfortably. Forward half percent, 53.5% of the time in Collingwood's end. But what Gold Coast did really well was they tore Collingwood apart on the rebound. It's kind of similar to what GWS did to them in opening round. It's very similar to what Gold Coast did to them last year. If you can get past that first wave of Collingwood pressure, you get over the back, and Gold Coast just ran, and they made use of that really well. An area of the game that Gold Coast dominated here was clearances, plus 13 for the match. A really good performance there. Collingwood actually had 4 extra shots than Gold Coast in this game, so that will show you how much they will be ruining their wasted opportunities. Definitely was a winnable game for Collingwood, and they didn't get the win, so they'll be disappointed with that. Scoring-wise, Collingwood won the turnover game quite comfortably, ended up plus 10 on the intercepts, only converted that into plus 10 in scoring. 5 goals 10 for Collingwood from turnover, 4 goals 6 for Gold Coast. If Collingwood had a kick 10-5 from turnover, this game would have been well and truly in the books for Collingwood. Gold Coast scored really well from stoppage. 6 goals, 339, and 2 goals, 1 from the centre bounce, including that Noah Anderson game-winning goal. Collingwood scored well from the forward half, 41 to 27. Defensive half was 29 to 21 in favour of Gold Coast. So pretty similar across the board. It was just that stoppages and centre bounce scoring for Gold Coast that probably paved the way for this win in the end. Brownlow votes, I've got Matt Rowell 3. He was absolutely outstanding throughout this whole game. He was 100% the match winner for Gold Coast. Ended up with 32 touches, 18 of those contested, 12 clearances, 2 goals. Absolutely outstanding performance from him. 2 votes to Josh Dacos for that last quarter where he absolutely turned it on. 32 touches. He ended up with 2 goals. Was huge once they moved him into that midfield role. It'll be interesting to see if they play him there again next week, because he played 1 quarter of inside mid and absolutely tore this game apart. Noah Anderson gets the 1. He was absolutely outstanding. 22 touches. 32 touches. I don't know what I'm talking about. Really good game from him. Kicked that really important goal late. Outside of that, I don't know if I think they're the obvious 3 for votes, in all honesty, in this game. There were other good players, but I don't think anyone else deserves votes. John Noble was really good. He had 30 touches. Had a couple important touches in the back line as well, but I think those are the 3 best players on the ground by far in this game. MVP votes, starting with Gold Coast. Matt Rowell gets the 10, as we said. He was best on ground throughout most of this game, and I think the Brownlow votes should go his way. Noah Anderson was really good, 8 votes for him. Daniel Rioli played one of his better games as a Sun. He was good, gets 6. Braden Fiorini gets the 4, and Jared Wicks gets 2. He played a really good job at curtailing Darcy Cameron's impact on this game. For Collingwood, Josh Dacos, clear best by far. He gets the 5. No one comes close to him in this game for Collingwood. When I don't have the actual ratings on screen, but for context, Josh Dacos rated about a 114, I believe. Next best for Collingwood was Tom Mitchell with a 59, so that is a massive discrepancy. For context, a 59 as a midfielder is basically an average game, but heading towards below average, whereas Josh Dacos 114 is not just elite, that's like top 6 games of the year so far. Tom Mitchell gets the 4. Nick Dacos gets 3. Was injured early in this game, was hobbling around, continued to play, 26 touches. He was solid. He wasn't game-breaking, though. Isaac Quainer played pretty solid throughout this one. And Dan Houston might have played his best game as a Collingwood player so far. His first quarter was really good. He had 8 intercepts for the match. He was pretty good in this one. That's everything I think we've got to talk about for Friday Night Footy. Collingwood kicking themselves that they lose this one, because they definitely had chances if they had have turned up in that first half. Moving on to the first of the Saturday games, and it was an upset. Not a massive upset, but the home team, who were a team, or still are a team, that fighting for a finals berth, go down to another team that are fighting for a finals berth. And the Crows get the 11-point win over the Doggies. Huge for the context of both of these teams' seasons, no doubt about it. Adelaide certainly looking like a top 4 team right now. They're going to be hard to knock out of the top 4. There's no doubts about that. They controlled the scoreboard most of the way through this. They never really dominated. I think they got out to 30 points early in the last. Bulldogs kicked like the last 4 or so goals to bring it back a little bit. But in the end, not enough. And Adelaide get the really good 11-point win in Melbourne. Game that was dominated by the Tolls. Certainly up forward. Phil Thorpe kicked 6. He's been absolutely outstanding this year. Aaron Norton 5, Darcy Fogarty 3, Taylor Walker 2, Sam Darcy 2. So the Tolls for both teams contributed a lot of goals in this game. But yeah, overall, I think Adelaide will be absolutely stoked that they get this win. Bulldogs, I don't think they played anywhere near good enough to win this one, and I think the scoreline says that. If we're to look at the team stats here, Adelaide Crows are 47.95, really good performance from them. Bulldogs are 42.87, not good enough from them at Marvel, in my opinion. Looking at some of the stats behind this game, Bulldogs actually had +3 inside 50s. They just wasted opportunities, did not create enough actual goal-kicking opportunities. They had 3 less shots for this game from 3 extra inside 50s. So that tells you a lot about what happened in this one. Forward half percent time was just slightly in favour of Adelaide, but pretty close. Clearances massively in favour of the Bulldogs. Intercepts, Adelaide just won that area. So Bulldogs certainly had their opportunities. They should have probably done better than they did in a lot of ways at creating opportunities. They just couldn't get that final. They could get it into their 50, but they just couldn't create that opportunity for a shot. This game was won in the turnover game. There is absolutely no doubt about it. Bulldogs did really well out of clearances, as we said, and they also scored really well out of clearances, 58-29 for the game, and 31-14 from the centre bounce. But what Adelaide did on the turnover game in this one was absolutely destroy the Bulldogs. 74-27. That is a ridiculous margin in the turnover game. You win the turnover game plus 40-something, you're not losing the match. There's just no way you're losing that match. So absolutely fantastic effort from the Crows. But what's even better from Adelaide in this one was the fact that it was from the defensive half a lot of the time. They weren't just getting the turnovers in their forward half. They could get the turnovers in the back half and take it all the way and score. They ended up with 47 out of their 109 points coming from the back half. So pretty solid number, especially when you look at their forward half was just 48 from there. So basically exactly the same amount of points from the back half as the forward half. That's a really good sign, I think, for Adelaide going forward this year. Everything about what they did in this game was really, really positive. It's not all going to be smooth sailing all the way through for the rest of their year, but it certainly puts them in a spot now where they're in the top 4. They've got some really good away wins. They've got some really important games coming up. If they can knock off a couple of these contenders that they have still to come, watch out, because if they finish top 4, they're going to be hard to beat anywhere that they play, as shown by this one. Beating Bulldogs at Marvel's not an easy one. You look at their next run, they've got Gold Coast next week. That is a massive game. Gold Coast beat them by 1 point up in Gold Coast earlier this year, so that's a big one. Then they've got Port Adelaide, so a showdown. That'll be a big game. Hawthorn at Adelaide Oval, a big one. Then they travel to West Coast. Then they have Collingwood at Adelaide Oval. So they've got 3 contenders still to come. Gold Coast, Hawthorn and Collingwood. All massive games. And then they finish with North Melbourne back at Marvel Stadium. So certainly a lot of winnable games in there. They're going to have to play some really good football, though, to cement themselves in that top 4. That's basically where they're at. If you look at the Bulldogs run home, they actually drop out of the top 8 right now. So every game is very, very important for them. If they lose a couple more, they're going to really fall out of range of the rest of this top 8. Next week, it's not easy. They've got Brisbane at the Gabba. It's winnable. Brisbane have lost plenty of games at the Gabba this year, but it's a very important game. They follow that up with Essendon, GWS, Melbourne, West Coast, Fremantle. So their last 3 games are certainly all very winnable. And obviously the Essendon one you'd expect them to win, but 2 out of their next 3 are against top teams. They need to win at least 2 of those next 3 matches to set themselves a chance of still playing finals, because they are clearly a very talented list. When they're playing good football, they're very hard to beat, but they've got a really tough little run, I think, coming up. Brownlow votes for this one. Bontempelli was absolutely the best player on the ground. There's just absolutely no doubt about it. He had 37 touches, 16 contested possessions, 10 inside 50s, 8 clearances, 8 marks. He did it all. He was important from the start all the way through to the finish for the Bulldogs. Unfortunately, he probably didn't get enough support. He had 11 score involvements as well, 12 tackles, 20 pressure acts. He played out absolutely outstanding game. I think he has to get the 3 votes. He probably won't because the umpires tend to not give him votes, but he was by far the best player on the ground. Jordan Dawson was Adelaide's best midfielder. He had 27 touches, 2 goals. I think those goals might get him enough to get some votes here. He might get the 3. He definitely deserves a vote, I think. Dan Curtin could get votes, but the 1 vote for me goes to Riley Thilthorpe. He kicked 6 goals. He's just a big boy, big body. You just don't want to match up against him. He only had 6 shots at goal, converted all 6 of them. So I think he deserves a vote as well. So that's the 3 I went. As I said, Dan Curtin could get votes. Ed Richards had plenty of the ball, but I just don't see that going that way. So yeah, I'm pretty comfortable that should be the way it goes. Those 3 players getting the votes. What order will be determined by what the umpires saw, but I think Bontempelli was clearly best on ground, which can happen. Best player on the ground can easily be in the losing team. MVP votes for the winning team. Thilthorpe gets the 10. He rated highest on the ground in this game. He was, for Adelaide at least. I think Bont was clearly rated higher. But really good performance from Thilthorpe. He gets the 10. Jordan Dawson gets 8. Dan Curtin gets the 6. Saligo gets 4. And Isaac Rankin gets the 2 votes. And then for the Bulldogs, 5 for Bontempelli. He was outstanding. Ed Richards, 4. Tom Liberatore, 3. Concerning thing for the Bulldogs is they lose, and they're their best 3 midfielders all played really good games of football. Bontempelli, outstanding. The other 2, really good. So the fact that they still lose this one is a concern for them. Tim English gets the 2, and Bailey Dale gets the 1. That's a wrap on that game. We move on to the next one. We head up to NG Stadium in Sydney for GWS v Geelong. Saturday evening game. Geelong came out of the blocks, kicking the first 3 goals of the game within 6 minutes of the match to lead by 18-0. And things were looking a little bit worrying for the Giants. They steadied themselves going into quarter time, just down 13 points, and then they went on a barrage. Early in the second, Toby Green, Jesse Hogan, Bedford, and Stringer all getting goals. Stringer getting a couple, actually. I think he had 3 goals by halfway through the second quarter. Just to really set themselves up, they had a 6-point lead going into half-time. And then in the second half, it was the Aaron Cadman show. I don't think he had a goal at half-time. He ended the match with 6, I believe. So a really good performance from him. He's had a couple big games this year. He's starting to show some really good signs. 3-quarter time, they were up by 25 points, the Giants, and they kind of held that one on to end up winning by 26 over the Cats. Massive win for the Giants season. No doubt about it. Cats, I mean, it puts them right in the thick of the chasing pack for this top 4 spots. So much so that Giants get back 1 game clear of where the Bulldogs are and tie it up with Geelong. They're just down on percentage. Quite heavily down on percentage, so I don't think they'll catch that up. But it's still an important win for the Giants, and huge run home for both teams. Giants have Essendon next week, so that's a really good opportunity for points and maybe percentage as well. Geelong, they have St Kilda next week. St Kilda tend to play really well against Geelong. It is down at the Cattery, so it should go the way of the Cats. They won't want to drop 2 in a row. Look at the team stats in this one. Team ratings, 48.26 for Giants, clearly ahead of the 43.91 of the Cats. Not the Cats' best performance. You take out that first few minutes and it certainly was controlled by GWS the rest of the way through this game. Inside 50s was actually +4 for the Cats, though, surprisingly. High intercept game, 72-73. Geelong got the 1 extra intercept for this match. Clearances, GWS dominated this, which is very un-GWS-like. They don't win the clearance game too often. +12 here, so a little bit of a different way of playing football here for the Giants, and they got it done. They had an extra 8 shots at goal from 4 less inside 50s. That shows you how, I won't say poorly Geelong's forward line played, but certainly how inefficient they were has a bit to do with the delivery, has a bit to do with the GWS pressure, how the ball's coming in, where it's coming in from. But they weren't able to create enough shots from their forward entries. 60 inside 50s, 21 shots. You're only getting a shot one every 3 times you go inside 50, basically. Probably not enough, let's be honest. They did kick straight, but so did the Giants, and that's how it kind of ended there. Looking at scoring, as we said, turnovers were high for both teams. Scoring, though, went the way of Giants, 72 to 58. Stoppages was 39 to 21 for the Giants. As we said, they did dominate the clearance game. Defensive half scoring was pretty similar, but the spot where the Giants won this was forward half scoring, 47 to 29. Just 29 points scored from the forward half for Geelong in a game of football is probably not enough. Certainly when the other team kicks 17 goals for the game, you're going to need more than 29 points from your forward half. Basically sums it up, I think. A look at Brownlow votes. I think Callahan gets the 3. He was absolutely outstanding in this one. He's had a couple big games this year, and this was one of them, in all honesty. He was really good. Had 29 touches. He had 9 clearances, so he was a really big key reason why they had so many clearances for this match. 2 have gone Aaron Cadman. He kicked 6 goals in the second half. I think he deserves votes. Brian Myers was clearly Geelong's best player in this game, so I've given him 1. Other people that will be in conversation, I think, maybe Stringer. He kicked 4 goals in the end. 3 of those, as I said, in important times early in that game. He could be in the conversation. Other players, Whitfield had plenty of it in his 250th, 32 touches. Tom Stewart had plenty of it. Bailey Smith, 26 touches. I don't think he gets a vote for that one, though. Tom Green, really good in the clearance game, as always. But I think Finn Callahan deserves it the most. Cadman and Myers also deserve votes, I believe. MVP voting for the winning team, the Giants. Cadman gets the 10. He was the highest rated player for the Giants. He was absolutely outstanding. 6 goals. Deserves you 10 votes, I think. 8 for Kieran Briggs was really good in the ruck. Makes a difference when he's in the team, there's no doubt about it. Finn Callahan was really good. He gets the 6. Darcy Jones, 4. And Tom Green gets the 2. For the Cats, Graham Myers was clearly their best. He gets 5. Tom Stewart, 4. Blix Arves gets the 3. Sean Manor, 2. And Ollie Dempsey for the 1 vote. We move on to the Saturday night football games. And a boy, oh a boy, was this the worst game of football I've ever seen? Quite possibly. It was a stinker. It was Tigers, Essendon, MCG, Saturday Night Football. 6-10, 46 plays, 4-13, 37. First quarter, it wasn't the best football ever, but at least there was some scoring. It was 3-4 to 3 straight at quarter time. Richmond kicked a goal just before quarter time and then did not kick another one until the 5-minute mark of the final quarter. They went through the second and third quarters without kicking a goal and still won this match by 9 points. What? On the other side of the fence, Essendon, they kicked their third goal at about the 20-minute mark of the first quarter. They went through the whole second quarter without a goal. Yes, you heard that right. No team kicked a goal in that second quarter. It was 0-1, played 0-6. In favour of the Bombers. But they didn't kick another goal until the 15-minute mark of the third quarter. Essendon went, I think, about 52, 53 minutes or something without a goal in this game. Richmond went 59 minutes and 30 seconds without a goal. I don't know what to say. Essendon kicked 1 goal after the 20-minute mark of the first quarter. They kicked 1 goal 13 after that. Like, you're not going to win a game of football if in 3 and a bit quarters you kick 1 goal 13. Like, you're just not going to win a game. Even if you are playing Richmond, who went through 60 minutes of game time without a goal. Richmond just get it done. It wasn't pretty. It was horrible to watch. but Richmond got it done. I'm not going to talk too much about this game, I don't think, because it just wasn't great. But we'll go through some of the key stats, as we always do. Disposal-wise, it was a very uncontested game. It was very free-flowing, but nobody could hit a target. Essendon had plus 9 inside 50s. Did not use any of them. They went plus 6 intercepts. The Bombers couldn't use it. Clearances plus 2 for the Bombers. So a lot of key stats. The Bombers are winning in this game. They did not have 1 goal assist in this match. I know they only kicked 4 goals, but did not have 1 goal assist. That is crazy to me. The scoring across the board is terrible. Richmond did it from stoppage, though. 26-8 from stoppage. So 4 out of Richmond's 6 goals came from stoppage. That's really pretty solid return, especially seeing that they actually only had 31 clearances for the game. So 4 goals from 31 clearances. Really good performance in that aspect from Richmond. Not much to say about the Bombers. Team ratings actually shouldn't... They rate actually kind of okay, but I don't think they deserve as a higher rating as they get. Richmond 44.92, Essendon a 40.54. It was a rough watch. Brownlow votes, I think Tim Taranto probably gets the 3, maybe. He had 34 touches and a goal in a low-scoring affair. Probably gets the votes. Archie Roberts, I've given 2. He had 31 touches. I think he was the Bombers' best. Zach Merritt also had 31 touches. I don't think he was as good as others. 1 vote I've gone to Jacob Hopper. It could go to Prestia, could go to Hopper, could go maybe even Short or Zach Merritt. But I've gone Hopper, 27 touches and a goal. I think he was just important enough just to get the vote. MVP votes, Richmond, the winning team. Nan Curvis rated the highest for the Tigers. He gets 10, Tim Taranto 8. Tyler Young gets the 6, Jaden Short 4, and Nick Vlauston in his 250th gets 2 votes. He was good in this one. For the Bombers, Archie Roberts did his chances of winning a Rising Star no harm. He gets the 5, Zach Merritt the 4. Laverde gets 3, Xavier Dersma 2, and Sammy Durham kicked an early goal, but maybe didn't have enough effect in the rest of the game. He gets 1 vote. Moving on to the other Saturday night game. This was definitely the better one. It was Fremantle Hawthorn at Optus Stadium over in the West. 12-5-77 for the Dockers, 9-10-64 for the Hawks. It was a topsy-turvy game. There was multiple lead changes throughout this one. Fremantle led at quarter time. Then Hawthorn led at half and three-quarter time, including 13-point lead at three-quarter time. But they could only manage 0-2 in that final quarter, whereas the Dockers kicked 4 goals to roll home through Sam Swiatkowski kicking the first, then Paddy Voss, then Sean Darcy, and then Josh Tracy kicked the sealer. Fremantle get the 4 points. Massive 4 points for the Dockers. Very important win indeed. Just for context of where that puts these teams, gets Fremantle back in the 8, a game clear of the Doggies. Not going to be an easy one next week. They do have to travel to Melbourne to play Collingwood, who are coming off a loss. I'm not going to rule that one out, though. They are possible to win that one. Hawthorn are dead level with Fremantle, just ahead of them on percentage. There's currently 5 teams on 11 wins in the competition right now, and 1 on 10. So she's getting tight in that area. Gold Coast have played 1 less game, of course. But this just kind of sets it up, in all honesty. But Hawthorn sitting in the middle range of those teams on 11 wins. They have Port Adelaide down in Tassie next week. It's a game they should win, but Port Adelaide have a pretty solid record over Hawthorn, so we'll see how that one plays out. But they should be too good for Port, you'd think. Anyway, back to this game, how it played out. Some of the key stats in it. Fremantle rated a 45-4, so pretty solid. Hawthorn a 43-5-1, so not the worst performance of all time. It was just that fourth quarter they fell away. Hawthorn had more of the football, plus 20 odd disposals. Inside 50s was dead level at 51 apiece. Forward half was massively in favour of the Hawks, 54% of the time. Plus 10 intercepts for Hawthorn as well in this game. Really high intercept game, 80 to 70. Clearances, plus 1 to Fremantle. So, in the end, Hawthorn even had 2 extra shots. Accuracy was very important for Fremantle here. They had 8-1 at 3-quarter time and then kicked 4-4 in the final quarter. So, really, really good accuracy from the Dockers is probably the key reason they just about win this game. 12 goals from 20 shots. 103 tackles from Fremantle. That's absurdly high numbers for the conditions. That's a really big number. So that shows the intent that the Dockers had in this game, and it ended up being crucial. Scoring across the board was very similar in terms of score sources. 6-0 in favour of Fremantle from kick-in, 20-14 from stoppage, and 51-50 from turnover. So pretty level across the board. But when you look at score origin, this is where it changes. Fremantle did damage from the back half, 31-7. Hawthorn did it all from the forward half, and that's because the ball was in their forward half for more of this game. They went 57-39. In the end, though, the Dockers played really well in that last quarter when it mattered most, and they win this game. Brownlow votes, I've gone Brayshaw 3, I've gone Caleb Sarong 2. They were both outstanding, 29 touches apiece. Jack Ginnivan, I think, was Hawthorn's maybe best. Lloyd Meek rated higher and probably was best, but I think Ginnivan's the most likely to get a vote. He had 27 touches and a goal, 11 contested possessions as well. He was really important for them. Other vote chances, Jordan Clark had plenty, Carl Amon had 30, Jai Newcomb 24 touches. All the big ball winners didn't kick goals basically in this game. MVP votes for this one, the winning team. Brayshaw 10, Sam Swiatkowski in his first game in a few weeks. Played really well, kicked 3 goals I think. Had 16 touches, 3 goals, really important. Jordan Clark, as I said, had about 13 disposals. He gets 6. Caleb Sarong gets 4. Matthew Johnson, one of his better games of the year, gets 2 votes. For the Hawks, Lloyd Meek was outstanding again. He's having a really good run of form of late and really dominating the hit-out counts. He had 48 in this game against the duo tag team of Luke Jackson and Sean Darcy, who had 56 combined. This is probably the best I've seen those two work together in a game. Certainly this year, but maybe even ever. Jack Ginnivan, the 4. Sicily, maybe his best game of the year, gets the 3. Carl Amon gets the 2. And 1 to Jarman Impey. Alrighty, moving on to Sunday games. We led off with the MCG. Melbourne v the Kangaroos. 2 teams that definitely won't be playing September action this year. Second time they've met each other last time. And this one had a few similarities, except for the result was the exact opposite. Melbourne win it 119 to 83, 18-11 to 12-11, 6-goal margin, 36 points. Pretty comfortable in the end, not super dominant, but comfortable enough. Kangaroos had the lead early on in the second quarter when they kicked the first couple of the second quarter, but from then on it was Melbourne the rest of the way. A solid enough win. I don't know what else to say. I mean, they dominated late third quarter, early fourth quarter Melbourne, which is kind of what Kangaroos did to Melbourne last time. They met each other, and Melbourne North Melbourne ran away with about a 50-point win that day. Similar sort of margin at three-quarter time in the reverse way this time, and Melbourne just kicked away a little bit. Kangaroos kicked a couple here and there, but 7-goal to 3 final quarter. Made the scoring quite high for the match and turned it into, it was already a decent enough game for 2 teams that are certainly a long way off finals at the moment. It wasn't the worst game of football that I've ever watched. Basically sums it up. A look at some of the key numbers behind this game. Disposal numbers, pretty similar. Inside 50s was actually +8 for Melbourne, so no surprise that they won. +7% in time in forward half, so 53.5% in Melbourne's end. So they did control the ground pretty well. It's kind of what we expected. MCG was always going to suit Melbourne better than what Marvel did last time they played each other. Chuck in the fact that Nick Larkey's not out there. Clearance numbers were almost level, +1 for North Melbourne, about where we expect it to be. +7 shots for Melbourne, so they certainly had the better ascendancy of shots. And, I mean, they made use of that. Extra 7 shots for an extra 6 goals. So they were efficient enough, Melbourne, to get the win here. Scoring-wise, it was all turnover, as we harp on a lot here. Scoring from turnover, the differential there is a major factor in football these days. Melbourne won it from turnovers by +40. 64 to 24. And then scoring from the defensive half, 43 to 28 in favour of Melbourne. And from the forward half, 62 to 25. So in those facets, Melbourne did really well. But the one area that North Melbourne started the season well, dropped off a bit for a while, but their last few weeks have been back to their best, is centre bounce scoring. 5 goals straight they got from the centre bounce here. Melbourne 2 goals too. So 5 out of North Melbourne's 8 goals from stoppages in this game were from the centre bounce. It's where they have had quite a lot of success early season and now again. So that's probably North Melbourne's biggest asset at the moment that they have on their list, is their ability to get goals from the centre bounce. It's when it's easiest to score because it's the 666, it's not too heavily congested, and that's the best opportunity you get. Team ratings, Melbourne are 46.22 and North Melbourne are 41.43. Suggests to me that Melbourne were by far the better team out there on the day and probably deserved the 36-point win. Jumping into best players. Brownlow votes, this could go any way of about 18 different ways, in all honesty. Petrarca had 31 touches and a late goal. Probably going to be in contention, you'd think. 7 clearances as well. Bailey Fritsch, he had 21 touches and 3 goals, as well as 3 goal assists. So he had a really good game. Jake Melksham, for the 3rd week in a row, has had 4 or more goals, kicked another 5. The bloke is in unreal form, best form of his career. On the other side of the fence, you're looking at maybe Sheasel or Colby McKercher. They both had 29, probably Sheasel was the better of those two. Caleb Daniel had 28, Tom Powell and Luke Parker also had a fair bit of the football. But this game was dominated by Melbourne. I've gone Petrarca, Fritsch, Melksham. I think those 3 probably deserve the votes. I could see it going either way, in any order, really. They all played really good football here. MVP votes, we've gone for the winning team, Melbourne. 10 to Bailey Fritsch. He rated the highest of the Melbourne players. Max Gawn gets the 8. He was really good in the ruck. Obviously, against Tristan Cherry is never an easy challenge. Jake Melksham gets the 6. Harry Langford is having a great debutant season this year. He gets 4, and Jack Viney gets the 2. On the other side of the fence, it's North Melbourne, and the 5 goes to Harry Sheasel. 4 to Colby McKercher, 3 to Luke Parker, 2 to Caleb Daniel, and 1 to Jack Darling, who managed 3 goals in this one. Melbourne too good for the North Melbourne Kangaroos. On to the next game, and we headed across the other side of the Melbourne City to Marvel Stadium. St Kilda, Sydney, and it was a nail-biter. It was a cracking finish. Ended up with an Errol Goulden game winner with a few minutes to go. 14-8-92 Sydney, 13-9-87 for St Kilda. It was a game that perhaps St Kilda could have and maybe should have won, but in the end, Sydney came from behind and get the win. In a game that just ever so slightly keeps their season alive. They're still 3 wins off 9th, another 4 wins off 8th. So they're going to need a miracle with 7 weeks to go. If they were to win every game from here on out, they would need some luck from other results as well, but it's possible. Only slightly, but it is, in fact, possible. Oh no, I lied. They're only 2 games behind out of the 8. I don't know where my numbers are coming from, to be honest. Me ladder hadn't updated. I'm sorry. 2 wins out of the 8 and 3 wins out of the 8. 2 behind 9. I've lost the plot. Scratch everything you just heard from me. That's where they are. 2 wins behind 9. So it is possible. They need to win every game. They need a lot of results to go their way, which next weekend they might be back within 1 of 9th spot, because Brisbane will play the Bulldogs. So if Brisbane beat the Bulldogs, Sydney beat North Melbourne, all of a sudden there's a slight chance. Also, there's a couple teams in the top 8 all versing each other next week. Collingwood, Port Adelaide for one. Collingwood, Fremantle, sorry. If Collingwood knock that one over, you never know. Maybe, just maybe, Sydney still have a chance. They need a bit of luck, but they do have a chance. Sydney got out of the blocks pretty well in this one. They led 5 goals to 2 at one stage. St Kilda got a couple late ones in the first quarter, and then through the second quarter and third quarter, they kind of controlled the game. They led by 13 points at 3-quarter time, but Sydney came out and went bang, bang, bang. 1 goal for St Kilda in that time as well. Sydney hit the front through a couple of Will Hayward goals midway through the quarter. St Kilda got a goal through Rowan Marshall to get the lead. Well, that tied it up, and then they got it behind not long after to give them a 1-point lead. And then Errol Goulden from a stoppage. Absolute fantastic ruck work from Brodie Grundy. Go check that out. A wonderful tap. And Errol Goulden snapped a goal to win the game by 5 points in the end for Swans. St Kilda kept coming late, but just couldn't get a score on the board. They needed a goal, and they couldn't quite find it. Ends up with, an interesting game. Plus 8 inside 50s for St Kilda in this one. I don't have full range of stats yet, because it's not that long ago that this game and the final game finished. Plus 1 clearance for Sydney, so not too bad there for both teams. Contested footy went the way of St Kilda, and uncontested football. Turnover game pretty even, about what we expected in terms of averages for both of these teams. Pretty good tackle count for both teams, especially St Kilda. 73 tackles is well above their average, so they put in the effort. They played some really good football, but in the end, they couldn't get over the line. Having a look at our Brownlow votes, I've gone 3 for Marcus Windhager, who played the offensive role this week. Obviously, we've seen a few weeks ago where he was playing heavily defensive for a few weeks, but this week it was all about his offense. He had 36 touches, 5 clearances. This is what I saw from him pre-season last year, where I was thinking that he was going to be a gun midfielder. He's obviously the one that they go to lock opposition players down, but he can win the football as well. He can get plenty of it, and he did in this one. Jack Steele had 25 touches, 13 tackles. He was good. Errol Goulden, Brodie Grundy, all these players had plenty of it, did plenty with it. Brownlow votes I've gone Windhager 3. I think even though they lost, he was St Kilda's best, and I think in terms of what the umpires will have seen in this game will be him a lot. So I think he gets the 3. Errol Goulden, I've given the 2. He had 23 touches and a goal, the game-winning goal. They'll notice him a lot. And Brodie Grundy continued his stellar form this season. He is playing some absolute stellar football lately. He had 20 touches, 46 hit-outs, 7 clearances. He's in just about career best form, which is crazy to think, but he's playing some really, really good football over the last 10, 12 weeks now, so a fantastic resurgence to his career, no doubt about that. MVP votes for the winning team. Brodie Grundy gets the 10. He rated the highest of all the Sydney players in this one. James Rowbottom gets the 8. Will Hayward gets 6. Angus Sheldrick gets 4 votes. And Errol Goulden gets the 2. For the losing team, St Kilda goes 5 for Marcus Windhager. 4 for Callum Wilkie, who was an exceptionally good intercept player in this game, at his best in this one. Jack Steele gets the 3. Mason Wood gets the 2. And Jack McRae gets in for 1 vote. That's everything from that one. We move on to the final game of the round, and this was a doozy. Port Adelaide v West Coast. Port Adelaide end up winning at 12-15, 87 to West Coast 9-7, 61. But it was not an easy win for the Power. They hosted West Coast at Adelaide Oval in this one. They even managed the first goal, Port Adelaide, in about the first 2 minutes through Georgiadis. But she went pear-shaped after that. West Coast had a 6-2 first quarter. West Coast, for the first time in almost this season, actually putting some scoreboard pressure on the opposition and doing it early in the game was a fantastic effort from the Eagles. But from that point on, Port Adelaide slowly got themselves back into it, tied it up late in the third before West Coast got a goal just before three-quarter time through Job Shanahan to give them a 6-point lead at three-quarter time for the Eagles. But the final quarter was all one-way traffic all the way at Port Adelaide. Jason Horne-Francis snapped a couple. Port Adelaide were just too strong late. They kicked 5 goals, 3 in that last quarter to 1 point for the Eagles and just overran them eventually. It would have been a dark day if Port Adelaide had lost this one, I reckon, but they dodged the bullet, they get the win, and in the end, I guess that's all you need to do. Team rating, obviously, Port Adelaide didn't rate that highly. They didn't play fantastic football. West Coast, that's about their average, in all honesty, for this season of 39. Started really well for that first quarter, but after that, they were certainly off the pace, I think. Team stats, there's some weird ones here. +6 inside 50s for Port Adelaide, which is about decent, pretty normal numbers, I think. Expected numbers, but the clearance numbers in this one were outstandingly one-sided. Port Adelaide 53, West Coast 26. That's a 27 clearance difference. It was 10-7 centre clearances and 43-19 from stoppage clearances. Port Adelaide just dominated the contest straight out of clearances. Contested football was only +19 for Port Adelaide. Uncontested was pretty level. Turnover numbers were really low for both teams. So that suggests that both teams controlled the footy quite well when they had the ball. Tackle numbers, both above average as well. So a lot of the numbers look okay for both of the teams here. Port Adelaide just let West Coast get away from them early and slowly pegged them back is basically the story of this match. There's no doubt about it. Zach Butters was absolutely outstanding. His first quarter was the only reason Port Adelaide were within 4 goals of West Coast, in all honesty. He was outstanding. And he kept it up most of the game. He ended up with 38 touches, 7 clearances, 3 goal assists. He played fantastic. He was definitely best on. I have no doubt about the fact that he gets 3 votes in this one. I've given Jason Horne-Francis 2. He was really good when it mattered. He got 27 touches, 3 goals. That's a big game by most people's books. I've given Joe Richards the 1 vote, 23 touches, 2 goals, 3. Probably his biggest game of his career, I would say. He was really good. Other people that could get votes, there's Harley Reid for West Coast, 27 touches and a goal, as well as 7 tackles. He was pretty good. Outside of that, Port Adelaide, Ollie Wines was really good, 25 touches, 10 clearances in this game. It's a lot of clearances in any game, but it's a really good effort. Outside of that, I don't know, but I think clearly it goes Zach Butters 3 votes, and then probably 3 or 4 players could get the rest. I think Jason Horne-Francis and Joe Richards are the ones that I would go with personally, though. So that's my 3-2-1. MVP wise, Port Adelaide, as I said, Zach Butters was clearly best on ground in this game. He was outstanding. He gets the 10. Ollie Wines gets the 8 for a really good contested clearance game. Jason Horne-Francis gets the 6. Joe Richards with a 4. And Darcy Byrne-Jones gets 2 votes. Over on West Coast, Eagles side of things, it goes Harry Edwards, 5 votes. He had 17 touches, 11 marks, a goal assist. He was pretty solid. Jack Hutchinson gets the 4, 20 touches, a goal assist. Liam Baker gets 3. He was solid enough running off the back line through the midfield, 18 touches and a goal. Tyler Dewar, he's having a good little month, in all honesty. I think he's been in their top 5 players like 4 or 5 times in the last 6 weeks. So he's playing some good football, and 1 vote to Tom Cull. that wraps up all 9 games. We're not done just yet, though, because we're going to go through how our tips went, Brownlow update, and MVP update. As always, don't forget that there's 2 episodes every single week, this one and a preview episode on Thursday. So make sure you hit that follow or subscribe button wherever you are listening or watching this one. Every follow, every interaction always helps. So I appreciate you for being here. But if you are here, make sure you do follow. And share it with your friends and family as well. Let's jump into the next part. And that's our Brownlow leaderboard. I forgot to change it to say round 18 update. This is definitely the round 18 update. This is after all the games this weekend. Jordan Dawson leads the way with 23 votes. Caleb Sarong in second with 22. Nick Dacos 21. Brayshaw and Max Holmes with 20. So there's 5 players within 3 votes in our voting system, or 4 votes technically. So it's all to play for in terms of the Brownlow. It could be very tight Brownlow count this year. Bailey Smith 18 with Zach Butters also on 18. And then on 17 it's Matt Rao, Jai Newcomb and Connor Rose. That's our leaderboard. That's our top 10. Who knows where it's going to go. It's interesting to know that there's 2 Fremantle players, 2 Geelong players and 2 Port Adelaide players in that count. Port Adelaide, who haven't even won that many games this year, are still polling quite well, in my prediction at least. Moving on to the MVP leaderboard, how it sits after round 18. Once again, forgot to update it to say round 18, but don't even worry about that. Andrew Brayshaw takes over the lead. He goes to 88 and the lead with a really good game. Noah Anderson, he's in second place on 87. Remember, Gold Coast have played 1 less game than everyone else, other than Essendon. So he potentially does have an extra game than everyone else coming home. So he is looking like he's going to be in contention, as is Matt Rao, who's not far behind him. Hugh McCluggage drops down to third. I think he was first last week. He didn't get any votes this week, though. 81.5 for the season. Nick Dacos is on 81, sitting in fourth. Then it's Matt Rao on 80 with Max Gorn and Brodie Grundy, the first of the ruckmen that we see, 2 of them there. And then another ruckman on 79.5 in Tristan Cherry. It's 78 for Bailey Smith, who has missed a fair few games. So, in all honesty, he's doing a great job to be that high. 77 is Jordan Dawson, Caleb Sarong, Connor Rose, and Zach Butters. That's your top 15, I think. I don't have the numbers there, but I think it was 15 after round 18. So it's tightening up in that leaderboard as well. All to play for in terms of that. How our tips went this week, it was a weird and tough round. We got off to a good start. Brisbane won by a similar-ish margin to that. 37 they won by, so we're only 11 points off there. We said Gold Coast by 7. They won it by 6 points, so we were pretty much smack on there. We said Bulldogs by 11. We got the margin right. Just went the wrong way around. Adelaide won that one by 11 points. GWS we said by 17. They won by 26. So once again, pretty close there. The Bombers were absolutely putrid. They lost by 9 points. So we got that one wrong. Fremantle won by 13. We said Freo by 5. So pretty close, within a goal or 2 there. Melbourne won by 36. We said 15, so a few goals off, but not too bad. We had St Kilda by 12. Sydney won it by 5, so we got that one wrong in a close one. And Port Adelaide, we said by 53. They played nowhere near that good, but they won by 26 in the end. Pretty solid week of tipping. Not an easy week, that's for sure. We went 6 out of 9, which I think is pretty good in this week. Certainly a few upsets in there. And, I mean, it could have been even better if we went Sydney, which I'm surprised I didn't, but I'm sure there was a reason. I have to go back and watch last week's episode to find out. But, 6 out of 9, not too bad. 105 out of 152. The last few weeks have been pretty solid. We had a bad start to the season, but we're going okay now. That's pretty much everything we have for you today in this episode. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to leave a comment below and let me know how you went in your tipping this week. Let me know what you think of my comments on teams Always will read them and usually reply, unless you talk an absolute rubbish, and then I might not. But thanks for watching. Go check out all the social medias. We've got Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, TikTok, Facebook. We've got it all, so go check it all out. It's all Aussie Rules everywhere that you look. That's another episode of the football podcast, All Aussie Rules. I am Jay. This is episode 48. We'll be back in a couple days for the round 19 preview. And AFLW season is very close to kicking off, so we'll have some AFLW content coming your way very shortly. This is the end of the episode. I'll catch us on the next one.